The art of letting go is what we're going to talk about today. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's ask the help of Dr. Seuss to set some context. Although they're supposedly children's stories, they've wisdom for us all, and my favourite, frankly, is the pale green pants with nobody inside them. But these that I've put together today are from different stories, as those who know Dr. Seuss will recognise quickly, and I'm using them to set the scene about the art of letting go. They're about you, and they're about life, and they're about its challenges. Perhaps you can relate. So here is my collection to help focus us today. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down any not-so-good street. Simple it's not, I'm afraid you will find, for a mind-maker-upper to make up his mind. I'm sorry to say, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups can happen to you. Things may happen, and often do, to people as brainy and footsy as you. When you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. Archer Business Group is in the business of unslumping. It's sometimes known as consulting. We unslump business leaders, and we unslump those who are developing future plans for cities and regions. What sort of unslump? Well, we help them find and develop their value core to grow their future. To restate their core means going to what Pooh Bear would call an explore. And that helps us to find out and see how things have changed from when you last looked at them. Consulting brings you to understand the complexities that so often make it difficult to move forward. By the time I get there, people feel as if they've been walking through a field of molasses. And when they look back, they can't even see their footsteps. It's as if they've all glooped in behind them. They can't even see the footsteps that will bring them to where they are right now. So they have no idea where they are or how they got there. Since most of us understand the commonly held wisdom that you need to let go before you can go forward, that's our challenge. Letting go is tough. We all have coping mechanisms that let us pretend that we've let everything go and we're doing pretty well, thank you very much, on the high seas. But it's in the quiet moments that things emerge unexpectedly into our conscious minds from the subconscious. And that's that great chest of drawers called mustn't grumble, must get on, or just getting through the day is enough, I'll deal with it later, or I can't face it now. I'll do it when I'm feeling stronger, or less overworked, or calmer, or in a better frame of mind. Businesses and individuals each have drawers like this, and they're very useful stopgaps. They get us through crisis moments, but eventually we realize that some of the things we need to resolve in order to go forward are stored somewhere in that chest of drawers. We need to have a rummage and apply some order. Believe in your own inner guide. It's already your best roadmap. It's stored all your life experiences. It even stores the spontaneous gifts of judgment that we all had when we were children. Remember, they often say that children and dogs are good judges of character? Well, we were all children once, and our past is stored within us, so we must still have those same capabilities. Trust your judgment and use it. So today I'm going to share some of the tools out of my coping toolbox. Let's start with anagrams. I use them to challenge me to think about something differently. And today we'll challenge ourselves about moving forward. And so let's look at the anagrams that help us to do that. Anagrams are useful mechanisms that disrupt our traditional way of thinking. I take a word and then some of the anagrams of it as topics of thought. And today I took forward, because until you let go, it's hard to move forward easily, free of the baggage of the things that are stored in the "I'll deal with it when I can" chest of drawers. So the first word we'll make from forward, our first anagram, is farrow. So that begs the question, how do Miss Piggy's relatives start out in life? It's not a question that you often ask yourself, but unless you've been lucky enough to have pigs growing up around you, how would you know? Well, the lady pig doesn't go to a pig hospital. In most cases on farms, she has her own babies in a farrowing house. It's actually not a very humane thing, because the mama pig is in a central crate and the piglets are in adjacent areas beside her, and she actually hasn't got much room to move around or bond with her young. We should all be familiar with that experience, even those who haven't given birth. We're each kept in a constrained space over some issues, where if we could just bond better with the people involved, we'd be able to sort out so many things that start as small annoyances and grow into major aggravations. There are other constrained spaces that are caused by the processes we find that we need, but we quite can't get to organize. So let's name our constrained spaces piggies. We could have a paperwork pig, the pig of end of year taxes. Now that's a pig. The colleague we love piggy, if only they would, ... Our partner hog or sow that we dearly love, but it would be so nice if they didn't spend so much time rolling in the cool mud of their priorities and think of ours sometimes. We all have our family of pigs that keep us in our farrowing crate while they romp happily about, not even noticing that we're constrained, but popping in and out to feed whenever they're hungry. It's sometimes helpful to tell a good friend all about your friends the pigs. It's not that the friend may have some insight, which is definitely a possibility. It's because as you describe the farrowing crates, you add in things that your subconscious hadn't announced inside your head. So describe out loud to somebody trustworthy your farrowing crate that keeps you from sorting out the pigs in your life. The next day, think how differently that came out from the way it sat in your head. In the words of Pooh Bear, when an idea that's been inside your head gets outside and has people looking at it, it behaves quite differently. So the second anagram from forward is arrow. Let's discuss two images of arrows. One is to reach a target, and the other has pierced your heart. So the target arrow. All successful sports people say they're focused on the next game, not the one that's gone, and especially if the last one was one where they didn't reach their target and their performance was below par. If you're held within your farrowing crate, how do you compete against people who are so unfettered that they can stand on open ground to shoot their arrows? Write down all the things that are keeping you from getting to level ground. Everything. Every little thing. The list may be really long. You don't judge what's on the list as being valid just by being there. It's valid. Now take that list and put it in an envelope. Don't think about it for a month. On the 1st of next month, open that envelope and strike out every item that's resolved itself. Put it back in the envelope until the 1st of the next month. Don't think about it for another month. And repeat that for one more month. In 3 months, you'll be amazed how it shrank. But there are 2 rules. Once you've written these things down, you can't mention them for a month. Don't add anything. Not for 3 months. At the end of 3 months, take all that's left and anything you want to add and write those down. I think you'll find that after 3 months the whole field looks quite different and you're on higher ground already. That brings us to the heart arrow. The analogy of piercing your heart has been used through history, and it's not for nothing. They are said to pierce your heart because pierce is a word that brings with it all the connotations of anguish and a form of death. The death of love, the death of a relationship, the death of somebody very dear. I can speak from experience on this. I'm sure you can too. I'll tell you my story a little. My boyfriend died from being kicked in the kidneys in a rugby game. We were 18. I had 7 miscarriages, all of them far away from my family support system. Years later, my partner was given 8 weeks to live, and after he died, I had an anaphylactic shock attack that almost did me in. My father had a heart attack in the back of the car while I was driving my parents for some joint seaside and much needed respite. The business that my partner had bought for me, I discovered to be fraudulent franchise. And so I not only lost him, I lost all my savings and my living. And then my mother and then my father died, all in just under 14 months. So I can speak from this sort of loss, and so can most of you. People ask me, does it get any better over time, this kind of hurt? And my answer's honest. No, but you get much better at dealing with it. And it also helps you to help others in their moments of anguish. It remains as a sort of treasure in a way. It's always there, but after time and putting things into perspective and moving forward all the time, the anguish and the hurt go, but the good memories resurface to take their place. So write this down and paste it somewhere where you see it every day. The way things are is the way things are. You can't change some things, but you can change your own future, and only you can do it. Remind yourself that you have the option to move out of the farrowing crate where you can't even connect with those close to you the way you want to, out into the light and the sunshine and open spaces. Let it be. Don't make your own farrowing crate out of your anguish and misery. Seek the light. Push yourself forward even when you don't think you can. You can. Honestly, you can. The way things are is the way things are. So our third anagram is dwarf. Once you get things out of your head and look at them, as Pooh says, they behave differently. When you examine it without any frills to fuzz the edges of reality, is your issue as big as you thought? But don't ever say, things could be worse. In my experience, they then become exponentially worse. You've tempted fate with such an utterance. Instead, put on some spin and realize issues in the moment or the things you don't deal with have their place, but you can swing into a more positive frame of reference. So, from last year, isolate 3 great things about you, and then 3 great things about your business, and pick the 3 best of those and write them down. Not bad building blocks for your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet. So put this list in an envelope to be reopened in 3 months with the others. And when you open it and put down all the things that have gone away in your big list and measure the good things on this list, it will be a visible demonstration of how the balance has shifted. Which brings us to our 4th anagram, fado. If you don't know this soulful Portuguese singing tradition, introduce yourself. Sentiments of resignation, fatefulness, melancholia. In Portuguese, it's called saudade. It describes longing, irreparable loss, heartbreak, and lifelong damage. Letting go is tough, and Fado reminds me of the simple rule I developed for myself. I commend it to you, but it's just one way. You might find others that are better. Mine is that I allow one day to wallow, and boy do I wallow well. Fido has nothing on me on those days. Heartbreak takes top spot, and then life beckons. So our fifth anagram from forward is draw. Before you can get to automatic pilot, you need to have a map of where you're going. God bless the Ordnance Survey. It helps us find out where we are so we don't wander in circles. And without it, sat-nav wouldn't work. So draw a map that shows where you are or where your business is and where you will both be this time next year. So start with a circle in which you write, you are here and today's date. And between you and the target, write down 2 milestones you need to achieve. And beside each of those, write the name of someone who can help you to reach it. Tell them and ask for their help. The sixth anagram is far. Have you ever had the response to how are you to getting there? Where's there? If you find out, let me know. What I do know is that our subconscious rummages around quite a bit in that drawer where we store things we can't bear to deal with. And it's in the times when we're at peace with ourselves, often in a place unfamiliar and far away, that it sometimes turns out that our patched wounds become our strongest parts. Because the subconscious brings things to our conscious. And this can't happen when you're a volcano of activity. So on your next holiday, have one day with no plan. Go somewhere as your nose takes you and invest in the time to stand and stare. If you can't take a holiday, book the day to yourself and go as far away of what is usually your horizon as possible. If you live by the sea, go to the mountains. If you live in a rainforest and don't have the luxury to travel outside it, climb a tree. Seventh and final anagram, by way of summary, do. An arrow in a quiver can't get to the target alone. Don't just listen to the art of letting go, start letting go. If you take these steps, the very act of doing is getting you out of your farrowing crate. And then you can say, in true Dr. Seuss style, I've heard there are troubles of more than one kind. Some come from ahead, some come from behind. But I've bought a big bat. I'm ready, you see. Now my troubles are going to have troubles with me. My book, The Cuban Approach, The Art of Letting Go, takes you with me on a month with no plan traveling the non-tourist parts of Cuba. And it shows how when you give yourself the space to do so, your subconscious can rearrange that chest of drawers of things not dealt with. And it's dedicated to all those who risk losing their dreams.